Thank you for tuning in to Koppen with Comic. I'm Brian Koppen, and we're with comic Lily Lester. Lily Lester, how the hell are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks so much for coming on. And I follow you online. So you've been doing online comedy during the quarantine, at least online comedy. And I follow you at The Lily Lester. You're the only Lily Lester that matters in comedy, at least.
Thank you so much. That really means a lot.
But also lilylester.com. And I'm not going to say that tongue twister 5 times fast because it'll come out as something totally inappropriate. But yeah, how you been staying busy? You been doing Zoom shows or Instagram live shows? Or are you starting out in the parks and on the rooftops?
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of Zoom shows. Like too many, honestly. I'm like overwhelmed.
So what's too many? Like you have 2, and then you go to a park, and then you have 3 Twitch and Instagram live shows.
Well, I have yet to do any park or rooftop shows. I had coronavirus. So I definitely stayed inside. It was a while ago, but I'm still, trying to be safe. But yeah, doing too many Zoom shows to the point where I'm like, why did I do the show with 3 people and it's just the host and her mom?
Oh, because the mom loves Lily Lester now. You made a fan.
Totally, one at a time. That's sort of my goal.
But yeah, slowly you're just taking the entire New York City, and that's why you got The Lily Lester, because people admit greatness. They see you and they're like, no, that's The Lily Lester.
Yeah, if you name it yourself, then people will follow.
But it sounds like this coming up after a successful stint at NYU Musical Theater. What was that like? Did you do the study abroad thing? I had Natalie Gifford on, and they say that NYU pushes studying abroad, and you're able to do theater abroad in Italy and in England. Do you do anything like that?
I did not, but I do know Natalie. That's so funny.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I never took advantage of any of that. I sort of felt like my program was in another country already. We were like fully separated from the rest of the school. We sort of seemed like aliens. Just like rolling on the floor making sounds was like most of our classes. So.
Is this a thing? I think this is a thing, rolling on the floor, sure.
Oh yeah. It's like a whole technique, but I don't think it's really done anything for me.
Well, it's now known as the Lily Lester. You have to roll around the floor. But,
exactly.
But you do stand-up comedy, and so it sounds like before, where were you kind of doing it? Did you have regular shows that then went online, and that's how you're getting all the Zoom shows?
Yeah, pretty much. I was hosting a lot of mics, just sort of like running around doing the Manhattan scene. I was like just starting to do some Brooklyn stuff, and then quarantine hit. So yeah, I'm mostly doing Zoom shows from like contacts made through the Manhattan, like lots of old white guys, but that's okay.
Those are, if you get in good with those old white guys, they can put you on. You can become a club comic before you ever go out to Brooklyn.
Totally, I'm the token white girl.
And I mean, were you finding that, were you hearing that the audiences were pretty attentive at Brooklyn? Like some of those Brooklyn shows, I'm hearing that you could do a mic and people actually pay attention.
Yeah, I honestly, because someone asked me, they were like, what places are you going to miss the most? And like, I'm already missing all the weird, shows that people were already doing in like back rooms and like rented out whatever. It's like people who have nothing better to do on a Wednesday night, I guess. That was sort of my favorite audience.
Yeah, they want to see a train wreck full of open micers who are unfortunately bringing down the Lily Lester show. It's like, don't you guys know? I mean, they come for me. They don't come for you.
Yeah. I think you've said my name like 5 times. I think you've hit the 5-time mark on my name.
Good, yeah. When you say it 5 times, people start rolling around on the floor.
Yeah.
So what we're going to talk about today is cults and things like that. And I think that, you're going to have a cult of people rolling around on the floor because you're so hilarious. They're on the floor laughing. And so, yeah, you've been getting into, cults and religion, and who isn't, because there's about 80,000 wonderful, perfect documentaries about, people like, the fucking Oregon cult. What was that called? That was amazing.
The guy Osho, yeah.
Yeah, Ocho, the super serious people who are still just saying Ocho with super reverent tones.
Right.
But also things like Jim Jones, like that guy was fun. That guy was a freak. The guy who brought him down to South America or whatever, and then everybody killed themselves with Kool-Aid. Which ones are you watching? What interests you? What do you love about cults? If you could start your own cult, what would it be?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know. Well, I think I'm obsessed with cults because, well, I think I have like all of the traits of someone who would join one. Um, which is kind of why I feel like maybe I got into comedy and other communities in my life. But
yeah, what are some of those traits that have you being a cult follower but also a comedian?
I'm like super impressionable. I've always been, but I also have like a weird, like I'm always like trying to rebel. So it's like it's like the perfect amount of rebellion while also completely following along what's going on.
That's great. Yeah, your parents are into religion, so you're like, no, I'm going to rebel, and then subsequently immediately join a cult, which is kind of
exactly. Yeah. And my whole family's like super Jewish, but then also our extended family, not my parents, luckily. My extended family is like in this weird. I don't even know what it is. It's a cult. It is a cult, and it's like they call it like a way to pray. It's like a group, and it's like non-denominational, and I've always been really freaked out by it. So I think that's also my obsession with it, is that it's so close to home, but it's also so not.
So how is it manifesting itself in ways that creep you out? Because the way to pray in and of itself sounds pretty benign.
Totally. I think it's like the familial like obsession with it, like as though it is the answer, like it is the way. And I'm like, I do yoga, I get like similar feelings. I think you guys have taken this too far.
Just sitting there and praying can be very relaxing. I think you guys are mistaking one for the other.
Yeah. But so I've been watching like actual cult documentaries, but then like I don't know if you know about NXIVM.
Yes, that was the one where the chick from Smallville what had everybody branded with tattoos near their genitalia.
Yeah. Super fun stuff.
Yeah, everybody knows about that just because it's like, dude, that chick did that? That's fucking cool.
I know. Yeah, she's like hardcore.
Yeah, her just being a hardcore dominatrix and forcing these people. She's like the Ghislaine Maxwell or whoever the fuck that Jeffrey Epstein girl is.
Exactly.
Ghislaine, or however you say her name.
I prefer to say Ghislaine just because it's funnier.
And I don't think it is. Like, I hear these victims saying it's Ghislaine, and I'm like, nah, man, Ghislaine. That's the only way you pronounce that lady's name. It's not like she deserves respect. That's the right pronunciation. Like, I don't care what the fuck she told you to call her. Call her Ghislaine. That's awesome.
Yeah. Totally.
But yeah, the NXIVM thing, how was that allowed to flourish? And what are the cult leaders? Like, so being an impressionable follower is one thing, but you would need the right cult leader. So if what are the kind of attributes that you see in a cult leader that would turn you on or turn you off? Like if if you were getting into, I guess Ted Bundy's not a cult follower, but like what things turn you on in a cult leader and what things turn you off?
Yeah.
Celibacy is a turn on or turn off? Because there was also that one, something God, Dear God, or something like that. It was the one on Netflix, and the guy pretty much had sex with all the male, cameramen, etc.
Oh my God! I don't know what that is.
At one point, one of the talking heads was like, I'm so sorry what happened to you. And she was talking to the cameraman, and it was then we realized that the cameraman was an abuse victim of this cult leader. So yeah, what do you like in a cult leader and what don't you like?
Okay, celibacy, hard turn off. That cult though sounds crazy. I have to look that one up. I think in watching the NXIVM one and hearing the cult leader speak, and he was just like super misogynistic. Like his whole philosophy was like, women are subservient and you have to like understand these roles, and that's why those women were branded and stuff. So those are definitely turnoffs for me. And when I'm like looking for a cult leader, here's what I look for. I don't know. I feel like someone who I'm also like very big into acapella. I'm like in the acapella world.
So the cult leader should be able to blend into an acapella arrangement.
Exactly. That is top priority.
Yeah.
But like the feeling that I get from that community is pretty similar to a cult. It's like, people singing together, everyone's sort of like, being in this community and being open and having discussions about like existential stuff, and like everyone's like wearing all the same outfits and chanting or whatever. I dig that.
And yeah, so some of the same things that kind of attract you to acapella are the same things that would attract you to a cult. And if there was a cult that was made consistently of comedians in New York City, What did you notice about all those communities in New York City that everybody would have in common? Like, would they be neurotic? Would each of them have anxiety or depression, or would each of them be selfish, or what?
Oh my God, that's a really cool idea. They would
We
definitely
should
all
start
have.
it. It sounds great. Yeah,
I know.
Koppen, maybe you could be the ringleader because you know the comedian.
Oh, I'm so down. They definitely are all riddled with anxiety and depression. Probably a lot of them are Jewish, but like also like culturally Jewish. So even if you're not Jewish, if you fit, you know what I mean? Like
Oh,
if you enjoy
culturally.
matzo ball soup, you can join. Yeah, and everyone's just sort of like, fuck the world, we hate it. But also
we
like
love it.
let's
Yeah, we
laugh
need
about
it.
it. Yeah.
We need its approval, but fuck it. I mean,
Exactly.
there shouldn't be more than one comedian anyway, so fuck this, but I'm gonna do it.
Totally.
I love that. And then if you were to be a leader ever, what do you have on lock? Like, what are the attributes of Lily Lester that, would it just be, a great singer, being hilarious? Like, what would attract everybody to you as the cult leader? And would you have sex? You have sex with everybody in the cult? Because I mean, it sounds like, being a prude is a turnoff.
Yeah, everyone in the cult has to have sex with me. That is the rule.
I mean, you only recruit the attractive people, of course, but then
of
once
course.
they're in, they need to have sex with you. Yeah.
Well, I mean, then again, I would only invite people who were my type exclusively. So even if you don't find them attractive, they're attractive to me. But yeah, I think I would be like super fun. I'd be like, I'm pretty manipulative. I think I could do that. I would like make people think that that they're doing whatever they're doing is wrong and they need me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And also make them laugh or whatever.
And I guess some of that was in the NXIVM and one of your other topics, which is feminism and the whole like, women need to be subservient. And of course, he probably recruited people with that in mind, like people who had, their self-worth had been, diminished to zero, and he's just going to kind of make sure it stays there, but periodically make them feel good. Like, so yeah. So what about, what in feminism can speak to that type of cult? Is there a type of woman who would respond well to the NXIVM cult, and what's the role of feminism in kind of bringing that person into feminism rather than allowing them to go off into a cult somewhere? Is it teaching them that women have worth, or what? Or the people who had kind of put you down before were doing it for their own self-interest, and that's why you should kind of get out of that trap?
Ooh, yeah. Well, I mean, the NXIVM one, it's interesting because they pretended like it was this huge feminist thing. They were like, this is how to be super empowered as a woman, is to be a subservient woman to a man.
Oh yeah, like being the whole differences in sexes is not necessarily bad. Like,
right.
You should be proud to embrace certain attributes that have been associated with women over time.
Yeah, they were very like, it's biological. Yeah, so maybe I'll just like flip it on its head and tell everyone that it's actually more biological to let a matriarchal society come out of this and just go like full dominatrix. I think I would just make it like the opposite, and I think that would be really empowering for everybody, including the men and leashes.
I love that. Yeah, I love that because then you can also be like, okay, what makes a man is obviously having a lot of sex with Lily Lester, and of course I recruited each of these guys to look exactly like I want them to look. And so if you're not fucking me 24 hours a day, you're not embracing that masculinity that Lily Lester really needs.
Wow, you are gonna like be on my website. I think your quote specifically.
I love it. I fucking love it. And everybody be rolling around on the floor. And where does a cult have to take place? I guess it has to take place in an insular, like even the Wolf of Wall Street. Like back in the day when he wanted to create his band of brokers, he brought them out to a little enclave in Long Island because that way everybody just hung out with each other and they didn't learn that certain things they were doing were totally inappropriate. Like, if they had been on Wall Street, other people would be like, what? You're not complying with these things. You're getting this exorbitant commission. You're breaking the law. This is awful. And so, and I guess the NXIVM thing was upstate New York. Like, where would yours take place?
Ooh, well, we would definitely have like a headquarter type of. I've definitely thought about this. Definitely
just for the episode, yeah, of course. Just
not like every day, all the time.
In between
No.
watching documentaries, I'm not planning my own cult. No.
No. But definitely have like a headquarters in New York City, just so it's like accessible. And then
We're gonna get out there via the train because we don't have our own digs yet.
right, exactly. I gotta recruit some like really rich donors,
Oh
and
yeah.
then we'll have like a really nice getaway, like in the mountains of Massachusetts, like the Berkshires type.
And
Yeah,
you'd get out there via Love Bus, and everybody would just fuck like crazy.
totally. Wow, you're making me want to do this more and more.
Yeah, I really think that we should start it. I mean, I think people are hearing the genesis of the next great cult.
I know, and
Because it
also
doesn't
like
have to be
I'm a fair
evil.
leader.
You're not forcing anybody to do something they don't want to do. Like the Nexium guy, he's not really in trouble for just being awesome. I mean, he probably, broke a law or two. Like he probably, I don't know, got somebody underage or, held people against their will by threatening them with violence or something. Like we're not going to do any of that. People want to be there fucking, right?
No. Yeah, and if they don't, they can leave. I'm not going to force anybody.
It's easy
Or
to get
like
out of the Berkshires without our Love Bus. They can just leave.
exactly, they can walk. It's fine.
I love that. And so it'd be full of like, it would be in the language of empowering feminism. And like, who are some of
Mhm.
the authors that you've read over time that really nail feminism for you? Like, what do you think the correct brand of feminism is? Because I think there's a couple takes on what, the Nexium guy has his take on feminism, which is to, each gender should embrace the attributes historically attributed to that gender. But of course, that's not your take on feminism.
Yeah, no, I think I've been mostly influenced by like, I mean, my older sister's obsessed with Dorothy Parker, and I think I've just like in having my sister be like a huge influence in my life, been also influenced in that way. And her whole philosophy is just like, fuck everything. I'm gonna be an alcoholic and just like say funny one-liners. Um,
And
so
that's feminism, of course.
that is feminism to me, is being an alcoholic and just funny one-liners.
But also
Um,
saying fuck everything because if the society is set up to benefit males, fuck everything and just
yeah,
live your own truth and your own maternal, female, feminine, embrace your own femininity, which is highly individualized because fuck society, which is run by men and for men.
yeah, exactly. And I also think in the last couple of years, I've just been figuring out like how to also uh, be comfortable in like masculinity and like the masculine traits that like women possess. I think are often like looked at as like you're being a bitch or you're being assertive or all this stuff, and it's like the people. And I realize the people I respect the most are like the comedians or the whoever are the women who are like so assertive and so comfortable with who they are and do not give a shit and then waiting for men to meet them at that level.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
there has to be men out there who are not scared by that.
Oh yeah, I've been lucky enough to meet a couple, and I think also in the comedy world, there's like, there are some really cool guys. There's also some really terrible guys, but it is like a nice equalizer of like we're all getting up on stage and saying whatever we want. So at a certain point, we are really equal in that way.
Yeah. And so, yeah, what kind of things is Lily Lesser talking about on stage that could come across as assertive to males in the audience or males on the bill?
I definitely talk about being a woman a lot, not in like a my period way, but just like
I love the voice. That voice was so great.
I mean, I think part of it is that like I really do. I was bullied a lot by the girls who, to me, encapsulate like pretty white, blonde, skinny girls.
Yeah.
Like I was like bullied by them, so I make fun of them a lot. So I feel like that
Everybody can
really
get behind that, right?
exactly. And then from there, I can be like, by the way, feminism, and everyone's like, oh, I see your point.
That's great. But in bullying you, they probably would be very, very assertive, and in kind of making fun of them, you're making fun of, a woman showing a masculine quality. But you're saying being assertive at the expense, just kind of telling jokes, at your fellow classmate or something is not assertiveness. It's just being a dick.
Yeah, yeah. Especially when like I was really fun and cool, and I don't know why you're bullying me.
But then that means that you have to make sure that the things that you're making fun of, you're not also kind of exemplifying that trait, so like making fun of these women on stage, it's awesome because the whole crowd is laughing at it, but is it any different than them making fun of you and laughing at it back in the day? Because they're not, I guess they're not in the room, and you probably are using composite characters anyway. It's not, you're not saying Cindy Johnson was a bitch, you know, she's blonde,
right.
it's fake blonde, blah blah blah.
Yeah, no, I usually like I have this joke about like The Bachelor and how like um how I would like an entire season of people who look like me on The Bachelor would be like the best season ever, because it would just be like way better conversations, and like the man would just like seem really dumb in comparison. Because yeah, it's more like I make fun of the stereotype of like the women who would be on The Bachelor, or like if there are women in the audience who look like girls who bullied me in high school, I make a point to be like, you look like you bullied me in high school. So yeah, it is. I guess it is. That's funny. One finger at the people, three back at yourself. I should maybe look back into that. But
yeah, but as long as you acknowledge it somewhere, like once you get the laughs, you can back into it. You'd be like, well, I guess I'm doing the same thing, and then get it.
Yeah,
that would be your transition into personal material. But you know, your new Bachelor is kind of reverse Lily Lester cult. Like, as cool as it would be to have one dude and 20 Lily Lesters, we want one Lily Lester and 20 dudes that she's totally attracted to.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. That's like a personal life thing, and then The Bachelor would just be like for entertainment.
So I love it so much, and we're going to follow her everywhere. She's the Lily Lester across social platforms, and she's also lilylester.com. Lily Lester, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so fun.